involved. Take, for example, the nasty case of Benton Byer, stalking and harassing an interracial couple in Cold Spring, Minnesota. According to reports, Byer crashed a stolen SUV into the family home of Andrea and Philippe Robinson. Police said Byer had placed a large piece of granite slab on the gas pedal and directed it to crash into the Robinsons' home. The whole incident was captured on a Ring camera. Inside the truck, a teddy bear hung from a noose, symbolizing the racist intent behind the attack. The event left the Robinsons in shock.
I'm still in shock. I can't believe this. Every day I just come out here and think it's a bad dream.
How do I supposed to feel safe? I mean, my wife, my children don't want to stay here, and I understand.
However, this was not their first encounter with Byer. It all started when the Robinsons posted a video about racism and put a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard. In retaliation, Byer had smashed in the windows of Andrea and her daughter's cars.
I tell the world what my kids go through. Wake up to the car windows busted out. And here we go again. Our windows are broken again. The sunroof is shattered.
This led to a restraining order being filed against Byer. However, that did not deter him, as the harassment lasted over 80 days.
We went from busting out windows to shooting at cameras to knowing our schedule well enough that at grocery stores.
Andrea even made a play on social media about their whole ordeal.
He's very well aware of our schedule because he stalks us every day for the past 83 days. I need everyone watching this video to contact the Stearns County Prosecutor's Office, to contact every media organization, because we will be willing to speak.
Finally, Byer was arrested after a neighbor turned him in. He was charged with stalking, harassment, first-degree property damage, and second-degree assault. Court documents revealed that Byer's racial attack started because he believed his girlfriend cheated on him with Philippe's son. Eventually, the jury found Byer guilty of 7 charges, including 2 counts of second-degree assault. At his sentencing, an emotional Andrea recounted how Byer's actions had damaged her home and family.
Nothing could be worse than the impact your actions have had on my life and the life of my family. You did not destroy a home. You destroyed a family. Every day I'm faced with the same struggle. The house I once called home now resembles the shell of a life that once was, and a family that's forever changed. The place we once called home will be emptied of its contents and sold.
Byer, too, addressed the court, showing remorse for his actions and asking the Robinsons for forgiveness.
They affected the Robinson family and home, and for that I'm sorry. I hope they forgive me and go on living their lives peacefully.
Ultimately, Byer was sentenced to 105 months in prison, where he had to serve at least 70 months before being eligible for parole. While Benton Byer will spend close to 9 years in prison for his relentless multiple people at a religious gathering, like in the case of 28-year-old Brenton Tarrant, a mass murder suspect in New Zealand. According to reports, on March 15, 2019, Tarrant carried out a meticulously planned attack on 2 mosques in Christchurch during the Friday evening prayers. Wearing a helmet-mounted camera, he live-streamed part of the attack on Facebook. As he was seen driving towards the Al Noor Mosque. Upon reaching his target area, Tarrant heavily armed himself and nonchalantly walked towards the mosque as passers-by looked on in shock. As soon as he reached the entrance, Tarrant opened fire.
A gunman wearing all black, clad in a helmet and a bulletproof vest, entered the Al Noor Mosque in the city of Christchurch. He then ruthlessly opened fire during a packed Friday prayer service, killing at least 41 men, women, and children in the first mosque.
In just 2 minutes, Tarrant fired 144 times. He then drove to the Linwood Islamic Center, laughing, commentating, and shooting at will. 7 more people would die there.
Tarrant wasn't finished there. After the Al Noor Mosque, he drove to the Linwood Islamic Center, laughing and commentating as he went. 7 more people would die there.
Tarrant was planning to go on to another mosque when his car was rammed by police and he was arrested. In total, 51 people lost their lives and 40 others were injured. The victims were mostly from Islamic backgrounds. At his trial, the prosecution argued that Tarrant's goal was to wipe out non-European immigrants.
He intended to instill fear into those he described as invaders, including the Muslim population, or more generally, non-European immigrants.
Eventually, Tarrant pleaded guilty to all charges of murder, attempted murder, and terrorism.
To each of these charges, charge 1 to 51, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Yes, guilty.
At his sentencing, emotionally charged family members of the victims directly addressed their loved one's killer.
He is a loner, a big fat loser, a coward and a pathetic human being.
Your father was a garbage man and you became trash of society. He is ashamed of your identity. You deserve to be buried in a landfill. I'm strong. And you made me even stronger.
Was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the first time such a sentence was handed down in New Zealand.
On each of the 51 charges of murder, charges 1 to 51, you were sentenced to life imprisonment. I order that you serve the sentences without parole.
While Brenton Tarrant got life in prison for his hate crimes, what happens when you kill someone by taking the law into your own hands? Like in the case of Travis McMichael, who was accused of murdering a black man in Georgia. Reports suggest that Travis fatally shot and killed 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery in an alleged racially motivated hate crime. CCTV footage from the same day showed Arbery entering an under-construction house, number 220, on Satilla Drive in Brunswick. A neighbor called 911, saying Arbery resembled a recent trespasser in the area.
There's a guy in the house right now. The house under construction. 219 or 220 Satilla Drive. He's been caught on the camera a bunch before at night. It's kind of an ongoing thing out here. Black guy, white t-shirt.
On multiple occasions before, several trespassers were caught trespassing at 220 Satilla. Hence, neighbors were aware and the community was on alert. Minutes after entering the property, Arbery was seen dashing out.
He's running right now. There he goes right now.
Okay, what is he doing?
He's running down the street.
Neighbors Travis and his father Gregory McMichael from 230 Satilla were then seen grabbing their guns and getting into a truck to pursue Arbery. Another neighbor, William Bryan, also joined the pursuit. Police soon received a 911 call from Gregory, saying they were chasing a black male, but the call got disconnected after a commotion.
911 was the address your emergency.
I'm out here at Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street.
Satilla, where at Satilla Shores?
I don't know what street we're on. Stop right there! Stop! Travis!
Sir, hello, sir. Sir, where you at? Hello?
When police arrived at the scene, Arbery was seen lying in a pool of blood, while Gregory tried to comfort his son, Travis.
Choice. 136, go ahead and start this way, please.
All three suspects gave statements to the police. Gregory said they were trying to make a citizen's arrest of Arbery.
We see him come around the corner. He's going down here. We pull up beside him. Hey, stop, we want to talk to you. And he just keeps on running. So the guy, he's looking dead at us, he's like, from me to you. And he turns and he runs. Travis gets out with the shotgun and runs up there. And, I said, Travis, don't shoot, don't do anything.
Then Bryan said he helped block Arbery from getting away multiple times.
I pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him, but he was going all around it, and I made a few moves at him, and he didn't stop.
And finally, Travis, who had pulled the trigger, said he shot Arbery in self-defense.
We caught him the other day, and Dad was outside and saw him running by, and the neighbors pointing and everything. So
saw who running by?
Him.
Okay.
So we run out to stop him, to talk to him. He took off running. He came over here. Stopped. He come out of the truck running at us. I told him stop till he hit me. I had nothing to do. Just nothing else I can do.
No arrests were made for days until a leaked video surfaced online. It was a cell phone video made by Bryan around the same time Gregory had called 911. What followed next was utter chaos. In the video, Arbery is seen fleeing from his pursuers, but Travis and Gregory's truck intercepted him. A scuffle followed, which ended up with Arbery getting shot by Travis and slumping to the ground. Both Travis and Gregory were arrested for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Bryan, too, was arrested soon after. All three were charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. In court, Travis testified that his initial intention was to monitor Arbery's movements.
Wasn't it your intention to go around the block and cut him off and find him over on the other side?
To head him off and to see where he's located. That was my intention, yes, ma'am.
All right. But you could have stopped right there and not done anything, right?
Yes, but then immediately after is when I saw his interaction with the black truck and realized that there is something to my suspicions here, and I would like to see where he is at when the cops come, which I assume that the police were on the way, that I would be able to tell them where he's at if they haven't located him at that point.
He then claimed that Arbery got into a scuffle with him, struck him, and tried to take away his shotgun.
By the time I get to the front truck, he is at the front corner panel on the right-hand side, and he turns and is on me, and is on me. I mean, in a flash. I mean, immediately on me.
On you doing what?
He grabs the shotgun, and I believe I was struck.
So he shot Arbery in self-defense.
What did you do?
I shot.
Why?
He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was. It was obvious that he was attacking me. That if he would have got the shotgun from me, then it was this is a life or death situation.
But the investigator in the case testified that it was in fact Arbery who acted out in self-defense when his attempts to escape the trio failed.
I believe Mr. Arbery's decision was to just try to get away, and when he felt like he could not escape, he chose to fight.
This was backed up by prosecutor Linda Dunikoski, who argued the events that unfolded that day did not qualify to make a citizen's arrest.
Other people can't go up and stop us and hold us and detain us, okay? They have to actually have seen us commit that crime in order to effectuate a citizen's arrest.
In fact, the trio had no authority to detain an innocent man.
Did not have no badge, no uniform, no authority. Just some strange guys in a white pickup truck. Strangers.
Linda then argued that everything the trio did that day was based on assumptions, as there was no evidence that Arbery had actually committed a crime.
This is what I was thinking. Mr. Arbery may have run by. Maybe Matt had seen him. Maybe he has broken in. Maybe Larry English is over at 220. I don't know. Maybe Ahmaud Arbery was caught. Maybe Ahmaud Arbery is running from the police.
This was backed up by the investigator who said Gregory had previously testified to police that they were chasing Arbery only based on a hunch.
He makes admissions to seeing Mr. Arbery running down the roadway. His statement to the effect is he didn't know Mr. Arbery had stolen anything or not, but he had a gut feeling that Mr. Arbery may have been responsible for thefts that were in the neighborhood.
Linda then claimed the trio had drawn conclusions that day based on their racist mentality.
But he assumed the worst. He must have committed some crime. What's your emergency? There's a black man running down the street.
In fact, the investigation of the case had revealed that Travis was a well-known racist.
He says, makes the comment that would only be better if they'd have blown that effing N-words, or they'd blown that N-words head off. He made the statement that he loved his job because he was out on a boat and there weren't any N-words anywhere.
Eventually, Travis, Gregory, and Bryan were convicted of felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. Travis was further convicted of malice murder. Ultimately, Travis and Gregory McMichael were sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
Mr. McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, life without the possibility of parole. Greg McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, defendant was found not guilty. Count 2, felony murder, life without the possibility of parole.
While William Bryan was sent to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
Court sentences Mr. Bryan to life with the possibility of parole on count 3.
While taking the law into their own hands proved costly for the McMichaels and William Bryan, How does it compare to abusing the power of law? Like in the case of William Melendez, who's on trial for police brutality against a black man in Detroit. Reports suggest that on January 28, 2015, Detroit police officer William Melendez assaulted 50-year-old Floyd Dent during a patrol stop. Dashcam footage from a police vehicle showed Dent getting pulled over on Inkster Road, Michigan, for disregarding a stop sign. Melendez could be seen approaching the car with his gun aimed at Dent. His partner then pulled out an unarmed Dent from the car and slammed him to the ground. Then Dent, who had already surrendered, was shockingly put in a chokehold by Melendez, while his partner held him down. But what Melendez did next shocked the whole legal system. In a shocking act of brutality, Melendez started to unleash a barrage of punches to Dent's head. In total, Melendez punched Dent 16 times before choking him unconscious. Backup arrived and almost half a dozen police officers tried to handcuff a helpless Dent, whom Melendez had kept in a chokehold all this while. Finally, a bloodied and battered Dent was restrained and taken away, while officers started to search his car. Footage inside the police vehicle showed Dent tearing up from a swollen eye. Dent was also charged with possession of cocaine, which was later dropped. The focus shifted to Melendez, who was arrested and charged with misconduct and assault. At the trial, Dent took the stands and recalled his terrifying ordeal.
The guy with the gun was on the by the end of the door. Another guy with a black skull cap on. They came to the car, and the guy with the gun told me, "Get out the car, or I'll blow your."
Say what he said.
He said, "Get out the car, I'll blow your head off."
Say what he said.
He said, "Get out the car, I'll blow your head off."
He also identified Melendez as the officer who attacked him.
Do you have a memory of that officer? Who he had, what he looks like?
Yes.
Would you recognize him if you saw him again?
Yes.
Would you point to him and describe?
Judge, we will stipulate to identification. There's no doubt who was out there that night.
I was right there in the...
They went on to say how Melendez brutalized him that night.
And what happened when you hit the ground? What was he doing to you when you hit the ground?
When I hit the ground, he had jumped on me and grabbed me by the throat.
And you just go ahead. I'm sorry.
And he started choking me. Then he started beating me in the head.
When asked about the impact of the assault, Dent said his ability to process information was disrupted after the attack.
Do you have problems processing?
Yes.
And did you have problems processing before these events?
No. Meaning that I can't remember things. It takes me a while to catch up to think about what someone telling me or asking me.
Eventually, Melendez was found guilty of all charges.
How does the jury find the defendant, William Gale Melendez, as to count 2, assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder, complainant Floyd Dent? Guilty. As to count 3, misconduct in office? Guilty.
At his sentencing, Melendez took the stand and apologized to Dent and his family.
To Mr. Dent and his family, I am truly sorry if this has caused undue hardships in your personal life. And if you have any animosity towards law enforcement, that was not my intention.
But the judge was having none of it. saying Melendez abused his authority as a police officer.
You utilized your dirty, hairy tactics and used excessive force to arrest him. You betrayed your city. You caused your lovely wife heartache. And you caused Mr. Dent severe anguish.
Ultimately, Melendez was sentenced to 13 months to 10 years in prison for the assault on Floyd Dent.
I'm going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections as to count one for no less than 13 months, no more than 10 years.
While William Melendez used excessive police power to assault a black man, how does it compare to going on a stabbing spree on a train? Like in the case of Jeremy Christian, who's on trial for murder and hate crime charges in Oregon. Reports suggest that on May 25, 2017, Christian went on a hate-filled rant against Muslims, African Americans, and other groups on board the MAX train in Portland.
It's like we got a Christian or Muslim bus driver, I'll stab you too.
When Demetria Hester, a black woman, protested, Christian followed her off the train and assaulted her.
He's looking at me and telling me I'm about to get it now.
What do you do?
Walking.
What's about to happen here?
He throws the bottle to my eye.
CCTV footage caught Christian throwing a bottle full of water at Hester, injuring her eye. Christian, who had been drinking and smoking marijuana all night, boarded the same train the next day. This time, 2 black teenagers in hijabs were the target of his racist slur, 16-year-old Destiny Mangum and 17-year-old Walia Muhammad. When other passengers intervened, Christian turned his aggression toward them. A bystander captured the whole incident. The situation got heated as the 3 men got into a scuffle. This is when things went horribly wrong. Christian ended up fatally stabbing 53-year-old Army veteran Ricky Best and 23-year-old college student Talisan Namkai Meki, while seriously injuring 21-year-old poet Micah Fletcher, who later survived. Christian then stormed off the train, brandishing his bloody knife. Police soon arrived and arrested Christian, who went off on a sensational rant. He even threatened the authorities. Finally, a mask was put over Christian's head and he was taken to prison.
You better deal with it. I can die in prison in half a man. She's gonna give me back.
Christian was charged with murder, attempted murder, and hate crime assault. At his trial, an emotional Walia Muhammad held back tears as she recounted the horrors she faced at the hands of Christian.
Was there
I said, kill yourself. He was saying, Muslims. Saying, go back to Saudi Arabia.
Survivor Micah Fletcher also took the stand, testifying that Christian stabbed him in the neck after being confronted.
He responded by stabbing me in the throat.
Say it again?
He responded by stabbing me in the throat.
Eventually, the jury found Jeremy Christian guilty on all counts. At his sentencing, Demetria Hester had some choice words for Christian in her victim impact statement. This is when he exploded.
And to Mr. Jeremy Christian, your mom should have swallowed you. You are a waste of breath. And when you die and go to hell, I hope you rot.
See you there,
No, hey.
Go back to Tennessee, too.
What do I tell you?
Go back to Tennessee, too.
You can.
We don't want you here. All your race bait. You ain't gonna be mayor either. You ain't gonna be mayor either.
As he was being taken out of the courtroom, Christian threatened to kill the victim.
I should have killed you. I should have killed you. Everybody knows you're alive. Everybody knows you're alive.
Ultimately, Christian was sentenced to 2 life terms without the possibility of parole. While Jeremy Christian stabbed 3 men for protesting against him, what happens when you racially abuse a child celebrating his birthday?
Yeah, we see you too, baby. We see you too, baby. See, that's a threat. That's a threat. Stop that truck. That's a threat.
Like in the case of Kayla Norton and Jose Torres, who are facing charges for racially abusing a group of African Americans in Georgia. Reports suggest that on July 2015, Norton and Torres, who were part of a group called Respect the Flag, were driving around Douglas County with dozens of other members, displaying the Confederate battle flag on their pickup trucks. Their convoy stopped near a residence and disrupted the birthday party of an 8-year-old black child.
This is a child's birthday party.
Armed with guns and knives, the group allegedly hurled racial slurs and threatened to kill the guests.
Look at this shit. We'll see y'all again. We'll see y'all again. We're gonna see y'all again.
At one point, Torres had even pointed a shotgun at the crowd and threatened to shoot.
All right. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. He the one had to go. He the one had to go.
That's a threat, officer. That is a threat. That is a threat.
The terrorized family called 911.
And we were having a party, and these white guys pulled out with rebel flags and stuff, holding shotguns on us and stuff. Please send 911. They got knives and guns. They got knives and guns. Yes. Yes.
Clearly in distress, the woman pleaded with the operator to send help.
What's your name, honey?
Please send somebody. Please send somebody before somebody gets shot.
Okay, what's your cell phone
No, you
number?
gotta send somebody now before somebody gets shot.
Police arrived soon and formed a shield around the guests, while the group eventually started leaving.
I got it.
Oh, yeah. You too. Bye. Have a good day. Bye. Have a good day. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Even the presence of the police did not seem to deter the offenders.
Bye. Have a good day. Yeah, we see you too, baby. We see you too, baby. See, that's a threat. That's a threat. Stop that truck. That's a threat. That's a threat. Stop that truck. That's a threat. That's a threat. No, that's a threat. You stop that truck. That's a threat.
Eventually, Kayla Norton and Jose Torres were arrested and found guilty of making terroristic threats and violating Georgia's Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Torres was additionally convicted of aggravated assault. At their sentencing, an emotional Norton showed remorse for her actions and apologized to the family.
But I do accept responsibility for what I've done. I know I was in the wrong. But I want you all to know that that is not me. That is not me. That's not him. I would never walk up to you and say those words to you. And I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Then, in a completely unexpected turn of events, the victim directly addressed the duo and forgave them.
I forgive you. I forgive all of you. I'm not a big spirit person. I do. I forgive you.
Ultimately, Norton was sentenced to 6 years in prison with 9 years of probation, while Torres received 13 years in prison and 7 years of probation. Additionally, they were both banished from Douglas County. While Kayla Norton and Jose Torres got lengthy prison sentences for their racist actions, how does it compare to hailing Hitler in court? Like in the case of 73-year-old Frazier Glenn Cross, a white supremacist accused of murdering 3 people in Kansas.
I thought they were Jews. I wouldn't have shot them otherwise.
According to reports, on April 13, 2014, Cross fatally shot 69-year-old William Corcoran and his 14-year-old grandson Reet Underwood at the Jewish Community Center in Overland Park.
Police say on Sunday, April 13th, Cross went to the Jewish Community Center and opened fire in the parking lot. 69-year-old William Corcoran was there with his grandson Reet. Both were killed.
A few blocks away, a former member of the Ku Klux Klan gunned down 53-year-old Terry Lamanno outside the Village Shalom Retirement Center.
A few blocks away, Terry Lamano was gunned down outside the Village Shalom Retirement Center.
Police showed up quickly and took Cross into custody. One of the officers caught the whole thing on his body cam.
One of them captured this dash cam video. Take a look. It shows Frazier Glenn Cross being arrested by Overland Park police. You can see he's surrounded by several officers.
They said Cross asked for a celebratory whiskey after the shootings. He was even heard screaming Nazi slogans out of the back of the police car. Cross fired his lawyers and represented himself in court. This led to a trial full of disruptions and outbursts.
I spent 20 years in the Army, 2 tours in Vietnam.
Let me tell you, Mr. Miller. Stop.
I earned the right of speech.
Stop.
Freedom of speech.
Stop.
At his pretrial hearing, Cross exploded at the judge before being thrown out of the courtroom.
So you a damn for the damn Jews sitting in their own judgment. You are
We'll take a break.
At his trial, the prosecution claimed Cross was a proud and remorseless killer.
To decide the fate of a man whom the evidence shows to be a proud and remorseless killer who regrets only that he did not kill more people.
He also argued that Cross was a known racist, as some of his interviews back in 2006 suggested.
The only thing I ain't figured out is whether to hate all you Jews or just a Zionist.
And when the prosecution questioned him about his motives, Cross lost his cool again.
So really this is about you being infamous is why you did it.
No. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
He was adamant that his crimes were racially motivated.
Do you recall saying that the Jews will remember my name?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Cross argued that his intent was not criminal, but patriotic.
The state must prove my criminal intent. I submit that I had no criminal intent. I had a patriotic intent to stop the genocide against my people.
He believed his victims were Jews. Instead, they turned out to be Christians.
I do apologize for those who died. And I thought they were Jews. I wouldn't have shot them otherwise.
Throughout his trial, Cross showed a lack of remorse, saying he felt free after the killings.
For the first time in 48 years, I felt free. It was such a glorious feeling I can't even describe it adequately.
Then, shockingly, Cross said that God knew the shootings were right and moral.
If there is a God up there, God, you know that what I did and what's in my heart is righteous, is honorable, is moral, and therefore, God, you will reward me.
But it was when the judge denied him permission to enter certain website articles as evidence, Cross erupted.
I'll just get the hell out of here, go back to my cell, and wait for phase 2 if you're not going to give me a fair trial. You won't even answer a simple question. What the hell am I with you?
Miller.
The judge gave him a warning, but Cross was having none of it.
This is your warning, sir. If you're going to proceed in this manner, you will be removed from the court.
In what manner? Be specific. What the hell is he talking about?
He also had some choice words for the jury before they gave their verdict.
I fear you'll take the easy way out, the safe way out. But if you do, your consciences will torment you the rest of your lives.
Judge, I'm going to object.
You will live with great shame. John, I've only got a half paragraph left. Can I proceed? You will dread looking your children and grandchildren in their eyes.
Judge, objection again. That is a veiled threat.
Unsurprisingly, they found Cross guilty of capital murder, but he remained defiant.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of capital murder as charged in count 1.
I think that lady's just saying.
Ultimately, Cross was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
To carry out the sentence of death by lethal injection as provided by Kansas law.
However, one day, my spirit will rise from my grave and you all know that I was right. Heil Hitler.
He later died in 2021 while on death row at the age of 80. While Frazier Cross's anti-Semitic rants were truly shocking, how does it compare to running over a black teenager in a hate-filled crime? Like in the case of Russell Courtier, who's on trial for a hit-and-run incident in Oregon. As per reports, Courtier got in a fight with 19-year-old Larnell Bruce outside a 7-Eleven in Portland. After his head was smashed into a glass window, Bruce attempted to flee, but an enraged Courtier followed Bruce in a red Jeep allegedly being egged on by his girlfriend Colleen Hunt to run the black teen over. CCTV footage caught Courtier missing Bruce by a whisker in his first attempt. But as soon as Bruce crossed the road, Courtier accelerated straight towards him. And hit him as he tried to escape towards the sidewalk. Bruce was severely injured. He died a few days later at the hospital. Both Courtier and his girlfriend Colleen were charged with murder. Shortly after the trial began, Colleen pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Prosecutors argued that race was a motivating factor in the attack, since Courtier was previously a member of the white supremacist group European Kindred.
It was a racially motivated crime because it was for European Kindred. It was a racially motivated murder.
They also said that this was a cold-blooded murder.
When he chased Mr. Bruce with that red Jeep, he had one intent, and that was to kill Mr. Bruce.
The jury, too, saw it that way, eventually convicting Courtier of hit-and-run driving and murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant as count-1 murder guilty.
He was additionally found guilty of the hate crime of second-degree intimidation.
The jury finds the defendant as count 3 intimidation and second-degree guilty.
At his sentencing, Bruce's father addressed his son's killer.
You didn't just ruin my life, but you ruined your own. You have a son, and now he has to live the rest of his life without his father. And hopefully he doesn't make and think the same way that you do. This world it doesn't belong to any of us. We're just here visiting, and everyone has a right to be here.
Ultimately, Courtier was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 28 years served before being eligible for parole. While Russell Courtier will spend a significant part of his life in prison for his rage-fueled racial attack, how does it compare to threatening a kid with racial slurs? Like the case of Michael Amatullo, who's facing hate crime charges in Oregon. As per reports, 60-year-old Amatullo allegedly hurled racial slurs at a 7-year-old African-American child in their apartment complex in Portland. When the child's 14-year-old brother came to his defense, Amatullo racially abused him too.
The boy's 14-year-old brother came out to defend him, at which point Amatullo allegedly threatened to beat them.
Then he went inside his kitchen and brought a butcher knife, allegedly threatening the kids with it.
He then went back inside and returned with a butcher knife, according to reports. Police say Amatullo pointed the knife at the boys from about 6 or 7 feet away.
This prompted them to run and hide under a nearby stairwell, where the teen called the authorities. Amatullo was arrested and charged with misdemeanor menacing, second-degree intimidation, and unlawful use of a weapon. In court, the innocent 7-year-old child testified that Amatullo's threats about killing his mother had saddened him.
When he said that stuff to me, I was kind of sad because my mom was pregnant, and it was a burn to me because that was my first sister, and when he said I hope my mom died, I didn't like that.
Then it was Judge Christopher Ramra's turn to school Amatullo.
When he spoke today, he didn't say anything about the N-word. He just talked about sort of how things made him feel sad because he's a child. He doesn't process things in the same way that we do. That sort of leads to the credibility of what he had to say. And the normal reaction, if a 7-year-old is looking at an adult, is to smile at them, is to maybe talk to them. It's not to say, what the F are you looking at? And then to call them the N-word. When you're talking about someone, it never came out of trial, but I'm assuming he was in first grade, maybe kindergarten.
He said the incident could leave a lasting impression on the two children.
I have to imagine that most African Americans can remember the first time that somebody used the N-word in anger against them. They may not, depending on their age, might not have fully understood its significance at that point in time, but as they grow older and have more experiences, I have to think that's something that resonates.
Ultimately, Amatullo was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Portland man was sentenced to 3 years for a bias crime against 2 black brothers. He will spend 2 years in prison and 1 in jail.
While Michael Amatullo paid a heavy price for his racist demeanor, what happens when you kill someone for going against your beliefs? Like in the case of Devin Arthurs, who's facing murder charges in Florida. 18-year-old Arthurs, along with his 4 roommates, were part of a neo-Nazi group called the Atomwaffen Division. However, things changed drastically when Arthurs converted to Islam, a stark departure from his neo-Nazi roots. His newfound faith created tension within the group, who often teased him for his new beliefs. When things reached a boiling point on May 19, 2017, Arthurs fatally shot 2 of his roommates, 22-year-old Jeremy Himmelman and 18-year-old Andrew Onischuk, at their apartment in Tampa.
He claims he shot 2 of his roommates because they ridiculed him for converting to Islam.
When police arrived at the scene, they discovered a chilling cache of evidence. They found explosive materials, weapons, and other bomb-making substances. Arthurs was arrested and interrogated, where he told police about the sinister plans of his roommates.
Yeah, nothing's been constructed yet, but this is clearly stuff that is lined up for the explosives there.
That's the purpose of those items?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the entire purpose of it.
You guys don't build model rockets and go out in the back and shoot them off into the, or fireworks for 4th of July coming out there. Nothing like that.
None of that. It's all literally there specifically to kill people.
Arthur said he acted out of a belief that his roommates' planned bombings would lead to the Fourth Reich.
What was their purpose for doing that?
Because they want to build the Fourth Reich. They're delusional.
Okay.
He also spoke about his mental health issues.
I'm very prone to getting angry a lot. I'm very to the point where I think that I might be kind of sick in that sense. And I want to get help for that.
It seems Arthur's mental health worsened in prison because what he did in his court appearance shocked everyone, as they saw Arthur seemingly choking himself to the point of unconsciousness.
Devin Arthur's appearance in court was anything but ordinary. Everyone in the courtroom, including the judge, got a first-hand look at Arthur's appearing to choke himself to the point of unconsciousness. It's the type of involuntary reflex.
A doctor who evaluated Arthur's took the stand to explain his odd behavior.
He squeezes and lets his head fall into his hands to compress his blood vessels until he begins to lose consciousness.
The case seemed to be heading towards a mistrial. However, on May 8, 2023, Arthur surprised everyone by accepting a plea deal.
How do you wish to plead to these 5 charges?
I plead guilty.
Arthur said he was a changed man and wanted to help the world fight extremism.
I feel that I can be an advocate against extremism, and I'd like to take this moment to tell the world to stay away from extremist groups and tell that I want to try to dedicate my life to getting people away from militant movements and stuff like that.
Ultimately, Arthurs was convicted of 2 reduced charges of second-degree murder and sentenced to 45 years in prison.
I will adjudicate him guilty. I will sentence him to 45 years in Florida State Prison with a 25-year minimum mandatory on counts 1 and 2.
While Devin Arthur's bizarre case ended with him getting a hefty prison sentence, how does it compare to targeting and murdering a couple? Like in the case of neo-Nazi couple Jeremy Moody and his wife Christine Moody, who are facing murder charges in South Carolina.
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
Reports suggest the Moodys targeted and killed registered sex offender Marvin Parker and his wife Gretchen Parker after getting their address from the registry. CCTV footage showed the Moodys kidnapping the Parkers at gunpoint, where they later shot and stabbed them. Police were able to identify Jeremy from his white supremacist tattoos in the footage. When questioned, the killer couple didn't deny their guilt. In fact, they not only confessed, but also told authorities they had planned to kill more sex offenders. The Moodys pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and burglary, and appeared in court all smiles, ready to ask the judge for mercy, as well as the minimum sentence of 30 years in prison.
Your Honor, not a day goes by that I don't regret anything happened. And I know that what I've done is a sin, and I believe that God has forgiven me of it. Please have mercy on Christine and I so we can still have a chance to grow old together as husband and wife. Thank you.
Then it was Christine's chance to plead for forgiveness.
The Bible clearly states thou shalt not kill. I'm sorry I broke that commandment, but I truly believe God has forgiven Jeremy and I hope you will too. Your Honor, please see it fit that Jeremy and I are sentenced to the same sentence of 30 years. Never kissing my husband or feeling his touch again is my very worst nightmare. Please give us a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
While the Moody's initially were remorseful for their actions, they showed their true colors once the judge handed down the sentence.
Brutally killed these two people. They had nothing, no way to defend themselves or anything else. And I tell you that I believe that if these two were to get out of jail, I would be concerned that they would do exactly the same thing again. I don't have any question. I think it is a case that justice demands a life sentence.
This is how they responded.
That's what child molesters get.
Outside the courtroom, the Moody's continued to express their true feelings.
Child molesters do not deserve to live. They got exactly what they deserve. Had to do it over again, I'd kill more. I think Jeremy and I would have done it again if given the opportunity.
Do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
Ultimately, they received consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. While Jeremy and Christine Moody's remorseless killings shocked the community,